Bobby and I will be questioning you. Thorough interrogation.
Yes.
Hardcore. Fun fact, I had an English teacher in high school that was an interrogator in the Army. He's now a children's elementary school principal. I'm terrified for those children.
Yes. Yeah, that seems like a very big change in career.
He was a very intimidating English teacher. I can't imagine what he would be like as a principal.
Yeah.
And then real quick point, Bobby and I are working on the About Us page.
Okay.
We would like to include Board of Trustees information.
Okay.
If you have
I'll get them to write bios.
Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
eventually we can get them in here for headshots.
Okay.
All right, I'm good whenever you are.
All right. Yeah, so we're just trying to get kind of your story of everything. I don't think any of the class really knows it other than Liz Kim at this point. Yeah, so where did you even get the idea for this project?
Okay, that's a very long answer. So the inspiration came from a few areas. The first is the summer I spent with Family Scholar House, getting to work with their families and talking with Kathy Dykstra, the president of FSH, was really eye-opening because I learned so much about my home community that I didn't know before. And based on the experiences and conversations I'd been having back in Muncie with people on Ball State's campus and then throughout the Muncie community, I was able to draw a lot of connections and similarities between the problems of Louisville and the problems of Muncie. And the approach that FSH takes to help overcome those problems and obstacles seemed like a really novel approach and something that would fit really well in Muncie. The other sources of inspiration were the Honors College, a combination of the classes, specifically the humanities sequence and 189 with Tim Berg, and Student Honors Council. The former president for Student Honors Council, Marin Orchard, is an incredible person, and she's one of the first people who really turned me on to being really in touch with your community. And then the humanities sequence in 189 really helped me better understand how to connect with people and how to appreciate my own emotions and using those to connect and interact with the world around me. And so a combination of wanting other people to experience that same joy and beauty that comes with understanding yourself and being able to use that understanding to impact your world, as well as learning about the problems in the community, seemed like a really interesting way to try and tackle the issues of Muncie.
Okay, so how did this process begin of creating VFS and then the VBC?
So it started over the summer. I was in the process of designing my medallion scholar major, and one of the questions that they ask when going through this process is, how is this new major going to help you in the future? And while I was thinking about future goals, I was thinking about what I could do here and now that would also contribute to the community. And that came in the form of this organization. So I was up here signing documents for the major, sent an email to Jason Powell, and then we were able to sit down for an hour. And during that meeting, I was like, I've been at FSH and here's what they do, here's what I think we can do in Muncie. And he immediately was on board, and we were rapid fire back and forth on what we could do. Went home, typed up a proposal for the organization, sent that off to him. And then a couple weeks later, I drove back up from Louisville to Muncie, and we sat down with Tim Berg and Dean Emmert and talked about how the Honors College could get involved. And then that just kept evolving from being a program in the Honors College to actually being the nonprofit that we're working on now.
So I'm trying to clarify then. So like, when was that first idea that you're just at Family Scholar's house and you're like, oh, let's just build a nonprofit in Muncie? For like, where's that even from?
It just sort of happened. It really wasn't something that I did a ton of research or thinking about. It just sort of happened. I was just interacting with people and said, in my head I was thinking, if they can do this in Louisville and they can be helping hundreds of families get out of generational poverty and then help them turn around and contribute back to their own community, why can't we do that in Muncie? And talking with Jason just sort of solidified that belief that this is something we can do. And here we are. It sounds strange to say it, but there was very little thought that went into the actual decision.
Hold on, I'm gonna move.
Oh, Brandy's here?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you can like pause and come back. No, you probably need to go talk. You can go. Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. It's all good. I'll adjust.
Some of the values in the BBC are like education and community and like other things like that. What do those values like mean to you?
Yeah, so for me, I think there are a few core values for our organization. First of which you just mentioned, education. I see education as a way that people can learn about themselves and the world around them, and also acquire the tools they need to change the world for the better. So learning how systems work in order to overcome systems and make them work better for all people. The second of community and family, and I kind of group those two together in my head, is that support network that helps people celebrate the good things and get through the bad. And being able to do that with a group of people who support you, I think is really important.
That's good. Like,
Can I even tell them to stop? That's their whole BBC.
Well, they kicked us out of the I got an email saying we aren't allowed to use the living room, so I think you can tell them not to play piano. No, just for today.
I was like, no more, that's the fire.
Yeah, adjust. Okay, cool, thanks. Okay, cool, go ahead. Everything's still on.
Okay.
Alright, so continuing on with the narrative of how this was formed then. So you had the idea for it, you met with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was like the next step to making it for you?
So after meeting with Jason, I was really enthusiastic about all of it. Went home, wrote, it was a 14 to 16 page proposal outlining the structure of the organization and who we needed to contact. Came back a couple weeks later, met with Dr. Emmert and Dr. Berg, and they immediately jumped into how can we make this happen, how can we be a part of this. It was never a question of should we do this or can we do this, but how can we do this. And so that's been the support, the type of support from the Honors College all along, is they really want to make this happen. And after meeting with the Honors College, Jason got contacted by the VBC, and they found out about the project we were doing and said that they had had another professor drop out of their slot, and could Jason pull together a full immersive learning project in 6 months. And so then I got a panicked email from him saying, can we do this in 6 months and have it ready to go in January? And so we were like, I don't think we have a choice. We can't turn down this opportunity. And so then from it wasn't even 6 months, it was September to December of getting this all together. And now we're here and have 16 students, including myself, plus Jason and several honorary speakers and helpers, all working to build this nonprofit so that we can hopefully welcome our first families in the fall.
So what about the VBC is beneficial to this process of making the nonprofit?
The VBC is allowing us to tackle every aspect of organization building at once with people who are extremely talented. Most organizations, when they're starting out and in their first year or so, don't have the resources to hire web designers and documenters and researchers and program developers. We are getting all of that with our class and with our board members. And so just the diversity and strengths of all the people are making it really feasible to tackle a really ambitious timeline.
What is that timeline?
So the optimal outcome is that by the end of this semester, we have the framework for all of our programming that we will offer in the fall. We will be trained to have our orientation for our families over the summer. We will have our families selected. and have them applied and accepted into Ball State and the Honors College. We will have all of the pieces that we need to really support our families for 4 years. And then in the fall of 2019, we will have our first families, hopefully 5. If it can only be 2, then that's fine, but we'll have our first families start fall 2019.
So what has been the most difficult part to starting a nonprofit?
I think the most difficult part has been the lack of information. There is not a comprehensive guide or how-to book on how to start a nonprofit in Indiana. And so trying to comb through IRS websites and State Department websites and random articles from random people and trying to put the pieces together, I think has been the most difficult. It's been fun, but it's been difficult. Trying to make sure that you file the right documents in the right order with the right people with the right fee. It's a puzzle.
So what is the name Beneficence Family Scholars that you've chosen?
So that is the name Jason and I sort of came up with, and then everyone voted for it to stick. We think that the 3 words in that title really encompass what our organization is. So starting with beneficence, that's just the idea of giving back to your community and really appreciating the value of belonging to a group of people and wanting to do right by them. And then moving on to family, we want to encourage families that already exist, so single parents and their kids, to really become a cohesive family unit and find long-term growth and success and stability. But we also want to create a new family within our organization. So breaking out not just single parents and their kids, but bringing several of those families together, as well as bringing the volunteers and coordinators of our organization and making a new family and a new community. And then the scholar aspect, we want to achieve this through education, and the education is one of the most important pieces of our organization, really bringing in the humanities and recognizing the value there is in introspection and reflection, but then turning those thoughts into action. And so our scholars, the parents will graduate with a degree. Their kids will hopefully find better success in whatever level of school they're in, whether that's a pre-K program or anywhere from K through 12, and eventually hopefully inspire them to go on to obtain their own college degrees.
Yeah, so with that education and whatnot, could you summarize some of the services you hope to offer with BFS?
Yes. So we are a very comprehensive organization, which is one of the things that makes us unique. We will offer housing to our families, academic support in the form of tutors and advisors that both help them with their actual schoolwork, but also help keep them on the right path to make sure that they're taking the classes in the order that they need, being a bit more hands-on than the typical academic advisor most of us have experience with. We will offer social services, so these families will most often come from pretty impoverished backgrounds, so helping them access all the resources that are available to them, because it's not easy to find them and it's not easy to obtain them, so we'll have people who can help walk them through all of those steps. Sort of along with that, we will connect them to healthcare. We're hoping to partner with community organizations and community hospitals to set them up with primary care physicians, help educate them and our community about the importance of primary care and preventative care rather than just intervention treatments. We'll have mental and emotional support services because this is going to be a big change for our scholars and families. Even for some of our volunteers, it's going to be a very different experience. And so wanting to make sure that everyone feels like they're supported and welcomed and loved. And so we will definitely have those kinds of support services. And then we'll have fun things. We're hoping to be able to do like family dinner nights and movie nights and things that just really help bring that community together.
For sure. So you seem very motivated to do all this. This is a huge task to take on. What is driving you?
I get asked that a lot, and the honest answer is I don't know. It just feels like the right thing to be doing. I entered college myself as a political science and pre-med double major, and was really miserable for a couple years because I didn't like the science that I was doing. I didn't like really the path my life was taking. And so that all sort of came to a head in spring 2018, and I decided to just take a leap of faith, drop the pre-med major that I had been being prepped for my entire life, because it was always the expectation I was going to med school and going to be a doctor. And so dropped all of that, and then that was the right move because things just keep happening that keep leading me down a path, and that has led to this organization. And being able to bring other people on this journey and help them find their own paths to success and fulfillment is really big for me because the joy that I have found out of creating my own path, I want other people to experience that.
Mm-hmm. And so your involvement with Family Scholars House starts because you're from that area, correct?
Yes, I am from Floyd's Knobs, Indiana, which is basically a suburb of Louisville, Kentucky. It's on the Indiana side of the Ohio River, but most people in that community work in Louisville, and so that's really our community. Both my parents work in Louisville, my mom's side of the family all lives there, so that's basically where I've grown up. And my mom met Kathy Dykstra through her job as a pediatrician at Norton Children's Hospital when Kathy was giving a speech there. And that's where that point of connection was my mom introduced me to Kathy.
Okay. And so Muncie, like, does Muncie seem like the perfect place then to start the same type of nonprofit then?
It does. There's a lot of similarities between Louisville and Muncie. There are a couple notable differences, but the general landscape and culture is very similar. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of drug problems. But there's also a really strong community foundation, and people who are invested in Muncie really genuinely like the community, and the people in the community are pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And given the opportunities, they deserve every chance to find success.
Mm-hmm. And then what are your hopes for BFS?
My hopes is that the organization can be a sustainable organization that will sort of take the Family Scholar House model, alter it a little bit to fit our humanities lens and fit the Muncie community, and then be able to run and eventually be a national model of how colleges can really work closely with a nonprofit to cross the divides within their own communities, because there are so many college towns where it's the college and then the community, and even though they are in the same geographical area, there's no communication, and really helping people see that we're more similar than different.
Yeah, for sure. What is your goal for your future role in BFS? I'm currently serving as president and CEO, and that I will stay in that role until I go to graduate school. And my hope is that we are able to find someone within the next 6 months to a year who I will be able to train alongside Jason to assume that role and keep it all going. I'd like to stay on the board of directors just to always know what's going on, because this is going to be such a big piece of what I am passionate about that I want to make sure it succeeds. Mm-hmm. Do you hope to ever come back to it after grad school?
Potentially. It'll be hard to walk away.
Mm-hmm. I think then it's just the logo. Yeah, and so then explain the logo to us.
So the logo was designed by Eliza and approved by our VBC class, and it represents all of the really positive things about our organization as well as the Muncie community. So it has 2 rings of people who are holding hands. The rings sort of allude to a dandelion shape, and the dandelion symbolizes community and overcoming and pride, which are all things that we hope to build and instill in Muncie and Delaware County. And the people themselves, the fact that they're holding hands just shows that connectedness, and that's a huge part of what we're striving to build.
Anything else you think we need to cover? I've been wanting to sit down and just question you for a while.
Where do you get your wardrobe inspiration?
For a YouTube video.
I love clothes. My mom is a huge fashion person, and so I've like always gone into her closet, and Ann Taylor and Loft are probably my two biggest stores that I enjoy shopping at.
Has this process intimidated you at all?
No, which sounds so arrogant to say, but I don't know, it's a challenge and it's a puzzle, and I like solving problems.
And then I guess once this is done, we'll have to ask you what next, Lydia.
Law school.
What is your future goal for what you want to do?
I want to do a dual degree program in graduate school for a master's in public health, and then get my law degree at the same time, and then eventually do health policy and legislation and reform the healthcare system in America.
Small goals.
Small goals. I see myself running for political office at some point.
And now, do you have any time for anything else in your life other than your career?
Family and music, yoga, food.
This is me just asking because I'm interested.
Yeah. No, I've tried really hard to keep a good work-life balance. I'm not always good at it because I really like to work, but
Yeah, we all understand that you're at the honors college.
yeah.
After Wednesday, we're like, we need to not work for a bit.
Yes. Yeah.
You got any more fun questions? Let's kind of leave
No.
it on camera.
No.
Thank you for taking time to do this.
Yeah. Thanks for all the questions and.
Oh, was there anything else you felt like you needed to like get
Oh,
out?
No, I think this is just a good overview of the organization.
So I think we're gonna write about us sometime next week. It should be done, and we'll send it to you to make sure like it actually is what you want it to say.
Okay. Yeah.
You just don't see it on the website and you're like, that's not what it was supposed to be. That's all wrong. Yeah.
No, I'm sure it'll be amazing.
Exciting.
Yes.